right. You are listening to Castles and Cryptids, where the castles are haunted and the cryptids are cryptic as fuck. I'm Alana.
And I'm Kelsey.
We are the Castle Girls. No.
Yeah.
Pat listens to one that talk about Dungeons and Dragons, and they say, and we are the Dungeon Dudes. And like they say it in unison when they start their little intro every time. I'm like, hey, I sometimes wish I had something like that. At least it would give me something to do. Like I do the intro the same, and then I'm like, I don't know how to start this. How do we do this again? Every single time.
It's like, what are we gonna do?
But that's why I invented segments like things I learned on the internet, which my phone buzzed. Which I
think Gorio's playing with toys in the background. Toys that don't have a battery that I can turn off.
Oh, I can't hear him.
No,
not at the moment.
It's the ambient background noise.
Oh my god, always. There's never a dull moment with their furry mascots we have.
No.
They're like, we want to find Bigfoot. Our animals, we want to lose them for a minute. They're forever underfoot. So
yeah.
That's funny. One of the fun things I learned on the internet this week, just a couple days ago, was that there happens to be a bagpipe band, and they're named the Red Hot Chili Pipers.
Oh my god, that's great.
It kind of combines two of my favorite things, because I just saw Gordo leap onto his perch. It was a very high, well executed jump.
There's a 20 or 30 pound weight like on the bottom platform, so that he doesn't knock it over, because he does.
Holy shit.
So I had to put like a weight to counterbalance him leaping like that at it.
Yeah, it's like 5 feet off the ground than the top.
Yeah, it's pretty tall. It's got to be about 5 feet tall.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was just very sorry. It just stopped me mid-sentence.
I could see it like from the reflection on my laptop screen. I could see him jump.
I know, it's still quite bright out. We started this earlier than we usually do.
Yeah, we're an Saturday afternoon girls today.
It's literally 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 5:07, so it's it's a Saturday. All right, Saturday's for the girls. You know they say.
Yeah.
And then Sunday fun day. Hopefully, it's been a long week. I got my new car. I was just telling Kelsey briefly off air, but it's been a long and horrible process. No, it's been long, so I just haven't been talking about it because it's been more stressful than anything. But yeah, it's like my first kind of newish car. It's 2015, where my old one was 2007, so it's newer.
That's awesome.
Oh yeah, more bells, more whistles. So far so good. And immediately my mom who gave me my first car, who she had named Sylvia for her silverness, and because we have a tendency to name cars, then she said, what are we going to call this one? And I said, I don't know, but I was thinking she must be Italian. She's a Sorrento. And then she said, Sophia Sorrento? I was like, I like it.
That's pretty good.
It's got a nice ring to it. Yeah, so I'm in possession and it's going good. But
that's awesome.
Different things to get used to. Excuse me. I had been driving Pat's car after I had to give my other one up, and his has like the push button start, and also the key fob that like when you walk up to the driver's door and basically like get near enough to put your like hand on the handle, it just opens for you. And so now I'm like, I have a nice key fob and they both work, which wasn't true of my old car, but I'm like, I literally have to dig in my purse, and I'm like, oh shit, I have to dig in my purse. I'm not used to this part. I'm just like
mine has the key fob, but it has like the button, the little black button on the side, so I can push that and then it unlocks my car.
True, but also then my little purse broke. So I also have this like other random purse I had hanging around. So then I keep being like, oh, I have to dig around in this big purse. I don't know. I just find
It's not that big.
everything's I know it's big for me. I like little purses because I don't
for
like
you,
to
but
dig
it's
things
still
around.
like a small purse.
This might come from, I actually can confirm, as we said, have a little bit of the ADHD. So maybe that's why I like to have everything in its place so that I know where it is at like really easy grasp. It really does make me feel like less stressed out and disorganized. I don't know. But anyway, it's been really good. It's a good little car and it's got all these little cup holders and nooks and crannies. And I'm like, oh, nice.
Yeah.
Like, but then today I had to go get gas.
It's a good little car. It's an SUV.
It's an SUV.
Just,
yes.
yeah.
That's true. It might even be a little higher than Pat's Ford Edge that I was driving. I kind of like.
Sorrentos are high. My Sorrento is higher than my car is currently.
Ooh.
Like,
I didn't know you had one. I should have asked you.
Yeah, it was. I only had it briefly, maybe like a couple months into like when I would have started working and like meet you and stuff at work.
Because I seem to remember when you got your Tucson, your blue Tucson. Yeah. It's very blue and memorable.
I got it in August of 2016. Okay. But the Kia I got probably in like 2014 or 2013. Because I only had my first car for like 3 years, and then I had my other one for 3 or 4 years, and then it kind of crapped out. My dad, because he had gotten it from a guy he worked with, he had done like a full inspection on it and said there was nothing wrong with it, and within like 6 months we had replaced the brake lines, the battery, and then on top of that they found like $8,000 worth of like mechanical problems. So my dad ended up was like, you know what, like I'll pay for the repairs because this guy clearly like screwed us over basically. And then it was like a year after that it started having problems again. My dad's like, no, like if you're looking at getting a new vehicle, just get that, and then because I put in like paid for all the repairs, I'll just take the Kia and figure it out.
Nice. Figured out, bud. No, just kidding. Letter Kenny, or no.
He drove it around for work for a bit, so it worked out.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was nice.
I think I'm gonna like this one. It just at first was a big culture shock. It was a big car shock difference from the 2007 with nothing power, like, roll down like manual windows, and it was just all like, what is all this stuff? I'm not used to it. And then you can push the car into a certain gear that's not drive, but that's like more if you wanted to go kind of semi-manual. I'm like, no, I never want that. I don't need extra gears.
Do that, please. Yeah.
Keep it
always
away.
Automatic. Yeah.
But anyway, Red Hot Chili Peppers. Did I say that? Yeah. Oh, that was just funny because it was two of my favorite things. And then we got on a car tangent. Okay. I'm all caught up.
Your new car.
Cheers. Yes, it's been a while. Okay. I had to drive my crappy one for a while because I was end of February. It was just after we got back from our trip that I got hit.
That's right. Just a couple, the next day?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, that has been a long time. It's been like 2 months.
Well, because then other shit kept going wrong. Like our tax guy forgot to put our taxes in the day we filed them. He literally put like a paper over them and forgot about them. So then it was like an extra week and a half. And we wanted those to like, help me finalize I put money down on this car and whatever. So yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I'm
better now.
Right? If we had a segment where it's like, bitch of the week, or that's what I celebrate this week. It's like I celebrate and have a car. Yay. But what's new with you?
I'm telling you, my washer, like stopped working after
Yes.
we've basically repaired it for the same problem 4 times. So I think I'm getting a new washer tomorrow, which means a new used washer, which I don't care as long as this one, I don't know, I push off a cliff. It's giving me grief.
Yeah, your parents kind of saddled you with that one, hey?
Yeah, they
I
took the
mean,
one that was like,
in
I
a
don't know,
way.
12 years older and stuff that isn't as fancy, and they took it to their tenants because they didn't want to leave the tenants with like this set that they had bought that had like recalls on it and everything. And she's like,
God.
don't fill it more than half full because it has these problems. And the washer has
No.
people reported the drum coming loose and it literally like flying into another floor, like story of a house. And I'm like,
Oh my
and they're like, we can't,
God.
yeah, they're like, we can't leave this with the tenants and we don't really trust them to not break it. And it was expensive. So we're going to take your stuff that's super old and works amazing and probably won't ever die and give it to them. And here's stuff that semi works that, yeah.
Oh, and they
So
wouldn't take it in their house. No offense.
their house like had newer stuff in it.
Yeah.
Um, but their laundry room was basically like almost built around it and is on like the second floor.
Mm,
Um, yeah.
yeah. It's like
But
fair
yes, they
enough.
also didn't want it. So
No, it happens to all of us. That shit is designed to
yeah.
break, and then you're like, you have to go and get new shit. And if you live in
Mhm.
your own house, then that's all. Yeah, it's always but you're like, fuck, I wasn't ready for that
Uh,
expense.
and that's why I
Yeah.
told Alana the I want I'm gonna walk in tomorrow when we go shopping because we always go to that the dented store where like stuff is like it'll be like a fridge and it'll have a
Oh,
dent in the back because it was the floor model at Home Depot. And like somebody dented the
okay.
back of the fridge and they can't sell it, so they sell it to this place and then they sell it as like slightly damaged. Well, it's like, or it'll be the
Nice.
side of the fridge that you don't even see. Like, they don't care.
Yeah, I wouldn't care
But
about
it'll
that
be
at
so
all.
much cheaper and they give you like a 3 or 5 year warranty on all this stuff. They're great. Um,
Okay.
like it's where I got my stove from and um yeah, so we're probably gonna go there and I'll just walk in and be like, okay, show me your stupid appliances. I don't want anything that's smart. I want
Oh
stupid.
yeah.
I push a button and I turn like a dial and then I push start and it starts. I don't want it trying to like fucking weigh
A
clothing
manual
and
dial,
conserve.
like it's a knob
Yeah,
that sticks
I
out.
want a knob and then I pull it out, I turn it and I have to push it back in. That's what I want.
Meanwhile,
Like,
in my car, like, ooh, power windows. Ooh. Finally.
see, cars I've had good luck with. Everything else in my house is old, and like my fridge is probably 20 plus years old. I've had it for 8 years.
Yeah.
My brother had it for 3 years, and my aunt had it for years before that. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like,
So any day now. No.
yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. Thou shalt not have appliances that last. That's what the industry says. And then they make them
I,
break. Planned obsolescence.
yeah,
Bring down the man.
instead of having like metal parts, they'll be like, oh, we'll use plastic. And then when it breaks, we'll
Ugh,
charge $1,000 to repair it or 1,500 to buy a new one. What are you gonna do?
gotta keep those
You're probably
handyman
gonna
in
buy a new one.
business. Handyman. Handy
Yeah.
people. Handy
God.
Manny.
Oh, man. Oh,
Handy Manny, it was so funny. Rain did watch it a little bit, and then I'd laugh because I was like, that's Fez from that 70s show. He plays Handy Manny.
oh my God,
Yeah,
Sarah.
it's true. Come on, tools. Can we fix it? Yes, we can.
Oh my God.
Oh,
So there.
oh boy. So this one comes out on May 6th. And yay, May. Hopefully it'll be nice here and we won't be talking about snow or anything once we
On the
get
radio the other day, they said in the 10-day forecast, we have a day that's like plus 26 unless they
shit.
update
Yeah.
it. So it sounds like
Nice.
we're jumping right into the middle of summer.
That's really good in Celsius, by the way,
Yeah.
um, for American friends. But I wanted to say it comes out on May 6th. Obviously, it's 2 days after May the 4th, which for most people is just May the 4th be with you, Star Wars Day.
Yeah.
But yeah, which is very exciting. I'm a big fan of that. But before that, it's always been first and foremost. Oh my god. I can't talk. This is going swimmingly. It's it's also my sister Ressa's birthday. So I wanted to give a shout
Happy
out.
belated birthday.
Yes, it is. Yes, I guess it is a little bit belated, but at
Will
the
be
time
a
we're saying
belated
it, it's
birthday.
early.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yes, happy birthday.
Belated birthday.
She's always been a big supporter. She was originally supposed to go with us to Vegas, but COVID, and then we rebooking shat on that. But yeah, she's always been a big fan of true crime, and probably even more so than me in the family when we were younger. So this one definitely, in a way, is dedicated to her, I guess, if that's the right word. I don't know. That always makes me feel a little icky, like it sounds like in memoriam or something. Not really. It's dedicated to. That's why I picked serial killer theme.
Yeah, one.
Which
is this is the first regular episode we've done in this format. Because it's the format we used for our Ed Kemper episode on Patreon, where we each kind of split a serial killer's life. So from birth to a certain point, and then a second half, and then we each kind of cover one of those halves.
We tag
so it's kind of more
the
like
subject. Yeah.
It's
wrestling. That's a wrestling term. Your face was like, ew.
Yeah, it's not the first thing. It's been too long since I watched it.
No, you go first, and then you tag, and then I go, okay, I come in, and you go out of the ring.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool. Some people do that format, and then I find it's an interesting way to look at it, because then both people have a perspective on it, because they both kind of at least have an idea about the person or the case. And so it's nice. You could both kind of weigh in without being totally just like the audience member. But
that's true. Yeah, and it's nice to do a deep dive, because sometimes it's really hard to cover certain cases that just have so much information. As much as you guys probably loved last week's episode, or the episode that came out yesterday that was 3 hours long, we probably don't want to release 3 hour long episodes every week. So
no. And I was going to say, that's how Sinisterhood, they do one where they both do the same subject each episode. They write kind of the notes almost together.
Oh, okay.
And even then, sometimes they have to do 3-parters because there's just so much on one case. I know it's crazy.
It can be hard for sure. But
yeah, especially when they have more than 10 kills, like this person who we are going to be talking about.
Yeah, which clearly by the episode title, you guys already know who it is. So we won't be but we can ask if you guessed right, because last week we asked you to guess who you thought we were going to cover, and we gave you a hint, told you it wasn't Ed Kemper. So we're wondering if you were right.
There's a lot of them to choose from. That wasn't, it wasn't that much to go on, but maybe Ressa guessed it. It is Jeffrey Dahmer.
Wow.
Yep. That dude, that disaster of a dude.
Yeah.
and his victims, because I'm gonna have as much as I can on them too, which wasn't as much as I would have liked, but I found some which was good. But
it's been hard. I was gonna say, after you kind of mentioned that to me, I was thinking about some of the cases I've researched or heard about, and I feel for the big serial killer ones that have more than 2 or 3 kills, you never
I
actually
mean, they all have
really
more
find
than
out
3
that much.
kills. But yeah, it's in the
No, but
nature.
I mean, like
Yeah.
separate like instances, yes, more than like this person just like
Yeah.
killed like 7 people in like span of 10 minutes, like in whatever. But like more like separate incidents. But it's normally like, I guess it's probably pretty common that you don't hear as much about the victims when you get into the higher numbers than if somebody just like kills one person, because then you end up having like a lot of information about the one person and then the one person they killed, where when it's like this, yeah, even with like when we did Ed Kemper, there wasn't a lot about any of the victims really.
I know. You almost have to go looking for that information. And I think I'm going to hopefully try and do it more this way from now on. But it can be so hard because that's what gets reported is the manner in which they kill people. And that's about it. And so then you end up just talking about the killer and the killer and the killer. And you're like, ugh, I kind of don't want
Which I
to.
feel bad because I didn't even think until you like mentioned it for years, and I was like, wow, I didn't even think to like just try and research this individual separately.
That
made me feel sad. Yeah.
I have to say I've been influenced by what I listened to. Because the first one I binged, the first podcast I binged was in That's Why We Drink. And I would say Christine Schieffer, she does the true crime. She's really good at like finding a lot about the victims. But like, having tried to do it myself a few times when we have time to dig into it, it's really hard.
You're like sometimes on like page 12 of Google being like, oh, and then you click into something and you're like, that's not the right person. Or you click into something and it's like a doctor that has the same name, or a lawyer. I always find a lawyer that has the same name as somebody I'm trying to look up. And I'm like, how do you get in the Google algorithm? Because I'm like, blank, blank murdered. And then it would be like, here's a lawyer with the same name. And I'm like, well, were they murdered? Like, thank you, Google.
And if they're older, opposite, there's nothing on the internet or not as much. And this is pre-internet. So even though it's just from mostly the 80s, 90s. Yeah. I'm excited.
So for at least my half, I'm gonna be calling him Jeffrey. Just because with like the family, like mom and dad, it was a little confusing to just keep saying Dahmer. So I didn't want anybody to ever be confused about who I was talking about, because the parents are in it quite a bit. So that makes sense. I'll be going everybody's first names. So Jeffrey Lionel Dahmer was born on May 21st, 1960.
He's a May baby.
Yeah, and we're doing this in May.
But not a Taurus, I don't think, which my sister is. Because hers is the 4th. What? Oh, not that it matters. I know some people talk about their thing and then they're like, oh, all Scorpios are murderers. Or they'll be like, watch out for those. And I'm like, oh my God, okay.
Too much.
Yeah. Don't alienate your Scorpio listeners. My brother's a Scorpio. They're good people.
Yeah.
Shout out to Scorpios. What? Sorry.
I said, do support this podcast.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
So for his crimes committed during his life, he did earn the nicknames the Milwaukee Cannibal. Did I say cannonball? It kind of sounded like cannonball. Cannibal. And
I heard cannibal, but
okay, it's in my head. I said cannonball.
Oh no.
The Milwaukee Cannibal.
Either way, it's a little I don't know if I love it. It's just
he also got the nickname the Milwaukee Monster. So that I think is a little better.
That has some alliteration. I actually like that better. Yeah.
So he obviously was born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and was
Okay.
the first of two sons to parents Joyce Annette and Lionel Herbert Dahmer. So he has his dad's like first name as his middle name, Lionel.
Okay. So does my dad have
Joyce.
my grandpa's name as his
Yeah,
middle name. Yeah. Also, Joyce was my grandmother's name on my mom's side.
it's a nice name. I like the name Joyce.
Yeah. And it's the Stranger Things mom. Her name's Joyce.
Yes.
Shout out
Yeah.
to Joyce's, which there aren't
Yeah.
always many of anymore. But yeah, poor this
Yeah, it's a great
Joyce.
name.
Yeah.
Uh, so Joyce was something called a teletype machine instructor. When I looked
Ooh.
it up, it said that that was used to communicate in the aviation industry, and that variations, I
Oh,
guess, are used to allow deaf people to type communications over ordinary telephone lines. So it was some like
really?
communication thing. Yeah. So I mean, it was pretty cool. She was an instructor for it. So
Huh. That's
yeah.
interesting.
And Lionel was a Marquette University chemistry teacher, and he later became a research chemist, which we'll get to a bit more.
Oh, that explains a
Some,
lot, actually, because I didn't look up
yeah,
any of his younger life and couldn't remember anything
yeah. And
that my sister
I
may have told me.
avoided after my timeline cut off. I avoided like anything. I'd be like reading a thing, and then it'd have even like a sentence, and I'd be like, nope. Um,
We did
I
a good
tried
job
really
of
hard
cutting
to.
it. Yeah, I think we did a good job.
Yeah. So some sources say that Jeffrey, I'm really hard time saying his name, Jeffrey, was
Jeffrey.
deprived. um, I think it's because did you ever watch Jeff Dunham, the
Oh,
comedian that had like the puppets on
oh
America's Got
yeah.
Talent or whatever?
Oh, for sure.
I always
Yeah.
think of Jeff with a Dunham.
Oh,
So
is
every
that
time I was typing, well, that's what it's Peanut, I think, like the purple monkey looking guy used to go Jeff with a Dunham.
oh
So
my
every time I
God,
typed Jeffrey,
nice.
all I could think of was Jeff with a.
Oh my
So
God, no.
yeah, I had a hard time with that. Um,
It's hard enough to
so
type some names, no matter how many
like
times you
at,
type them.
uh,
I was
at
constantly
some point you just
misspelling
want to
Dahmer.
copy paste. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, I know how to
So
spell it.
yeah.
Oh.
So, some sources say that Jeffrey was deprived of attention as an infant, but on the other hand, some
Oh,
sources also say that his parents like really doted on him.
okay.
So yeah,
It's
there
hard to
isn't really
say.
consensus. Yeah. People describe Joyce as being quite tense and that she was greedy for attention and pity, and that she was pretty argumentative towards Lionel, her husband, as well as neighbors. She
Oh,
wasn't, I guess, the nicest to be around. So I'd probably lean towards he was probably more deprived of attention based on what I found out about her than saying his parents like really doted on him. Maybe Lionel
right.
did when he was a bit older, but I don't think they ever really paid him much attention.
Interesting. Yeah, that's a very specific way to describe someone. I could see, I was gonna say I've probably been called argumentative on its own, or at least person who likes
Yeah,
to a good debate or contrary, but then it's like argumentative with neighbors and and your family, and that
yeah.
sounds kind of confrontative.
I mean, she does have some problems with like mental health. She has some problems with drug and alcohol abuse. So
Okay,
yeah, I'd say there's some stuff going on in the family.
lot going on there. Okay, yep.
Yeah. So during the first grade, Lionel was away from home most of the time because he was completing his studies. And when he was home,
Oh,
it was said that he was trying to focus on Joyce, who at the time, or I guess not at the time, but she is described as a hypochondriac. And she also suffered quite severely from depression and ended up spending a lot of her time in bed and like asleep,
Oh,
or just laying
wow.
in bed. Yeah.
Bedridden. Like, but by
Yeah.
kind of,
So she's doing that.
okay. For
And
mental
then,
stuff too.
yeah. And then
Huh.
Lionel's not home a lot. He's away like days at a time.
Yeah, that's not a
Um,
great combination.
no, and this is during the first grade. So he's pretty young. At one
Yeah.
time, Joyce had attempted suicide by taking a medication called, I think it's pronounced Equinil. I looked it up. It's a medication for nervousness and anxiety. So she tried to overdose on this. And
Oh my God.
it, yeah, I think she was probably prescribed this medication like by a doctor because it's brought up a couple times. She continues to like abuse it. Um,
Oh wow.
yeah, this,
I mean,
I guess, suicide attempt or situation kind of caused Jeffrey to feel, later he said it made him feel, quote, unsure of the solidarity of the family, and that he
hmm,
experienced tension and that there was many arguments between his parents.
sure. I mean,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that probably a lot of people could say there have been a lot of arguments with their
Yeah.
parents, unfortunately. But yeah, it's painting a picture of the family dynamic, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's not a great family dynamic. Anybody
Yeah,
involved.
not super
Jeffrey
healthy.
just, no. Jeffrey, when he was really young, was described as energetic and happy, but later became more subdued. Shortly
Mm,
after his fourth birthday, he underwent surgery for a double hernia. I didn't run across. It was mentioned a bunch of
oh,
times. I don't know how at 4 you end up with a double hernia, or
I
how
didn't
that
know
happened.
you could get a double hernia. Not the thing to worry about, speaking of hypochondria. That's terrifying. Thanks, I hate it. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you have
Weird.
like, that's the one like where your intestine wall like up, isn't it? Looks like,
I believe something kind of,
yeah,
yeah, ruptures or pokes through where it's not supposed to, and then you're like clutching your side in extreme agony, and you can't, yeah, you
yeah.
can't move it.
Always
Joey
think
got
of
one.
Parks and Rec.
Oh,
Oh yeah,
oh, okay.
and
Oh,
Ron
Andy.
Swanson in Parks and Rec.
Oh, okay, yes. Oh, he's fucking
Yeah,
hilarious because he does not
I
like to
love
admit
him.
that he's not well.
He's
And
just
she
sitting
doesn't
in the
she
chair
wheel
like,
him
don't talk to me.
out on a
Yeah.
chair, a rolly chair. Oh, so
Uh,
good.
Ron Swanson, because I said, um, mm,
Yeah, he just wouldn't turn his
so
neck.
yeah, he's just turning in the chair. It's great.
What
Um,
was his plan? What was he gonna do if he wasn't gonna get help?
I don't know. It looked like he was planning to just sit there all over the night until April comes and turns the light on. I was like, "Are you still here?" He's like, "Yeah." Just slowly dying.
Just waits till everyone's gone and then he can call an ambulance because he wouldn't want, his staff to see him get
Yeah.
taken.
Ugh.
Oh my God. Excuse me.
Um, so I think it was probably because of this. Jeffrey ends up becoming more quiet and timid, and teachers later even commented that they had noticed signs of abandonment, like the starting signs of abandonment.
Oh,
Yeah, which comes up. I mean, he basically, when he gets older, he does get abandoned, which is like
hey.
pretty shitty.
And he's
Um,
an,
yeah,
did you say he has siblings? I forgot.
yeah, we'll get to
Oh,
it. He ends up having
okay.
a younger brother. So,
Oh,
Joyce's symptoms of depression ended up increasing as she became pregnant with another child.
oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, and while this was happening, Jeffrey was like finally able to make a few friends at school. And in October of 1966, the family moved to Doylestown, Ohio. it was about 7 hours away. So like whole new kind of fresh start, I guess. And in December, just a couple months later, Joyce gave birth to a baby boy, and the couple ended up letting Jeffrey like choose his name. And
Oh.
so, yeah, which is pretty cute, I guess. Like for a couple to be like, yeah, you could name your brother. That's kind of
Yeah.
fun.
With some
I
vetoes.
mean, yeah, absolutely. You're gonna have vetoes. If it's anything like the internet naming something, it'll be like Baby McBaby Face, like Bodie McBoat Face. They seem to do that with everything now.
Yeah, what's his name? Stink face.
So he ended up, Jeffrey ended up choosing the name David, which is a good name,
nice.
like classic
Yeah.
name. Soon after this, Lionel, the dad, finished his degree. So his studies were complete, and this is when he started working as an analytical chemist based out of Akron, Ohio. So he's like, I don't know what the distance was, but he's in another city doing this.
Right.
So I think he might be like commuting. I didn't look up the distance. I don't know.
Yeah, could be an hour or
Yeah.
two. Maybe it's just outside the city. Yeah, hard to say. My mom once traveled an hour and a half every day to St. John, New Brunswick from Fredericton to go to work at it was a really good job. Because sometimes you get good jobs at yeah, yeah, university jobs. I don't know. I can't remember exactly, but yeah, you got to do what you got to do, I guess.
Yeah. So Lionel recalls that Jeffrey started becoming fascinated by dead animals. So really at an extent what like little kid isn't, I don't know, like wanting to light ants on fire or something.
Yeah,
Or like
boys do
birds,
weird
maybe.
things.
Yeah.
Spiders, yeah. Put spiders in a can, yeah. I've heard some things.
Yeah. At age 4, Jeffrey watched his father actually remove animal bones that were under their house. So I think he was probably just like cleaning up, like kind of like a crawl space type thing. So he was taking these like animal bones out. So he had probably just crawled under the house and died, like natural causes or got stuck, I guess. He says that Jeffrey was, quote, oddly thrilled by the sound the bones made, which is kind of like weird. I've never heard somebody be like interested in the sound that made before in my life.
It reminds me a little bit of Wine and Crime's Lucy. Well, you know how some people will have like an animal skull, nicely cleaned, like say on display on a desk.
I have a horse's skull.
Okay, yes, you do have one. Yeah, I've seen people have these. You know what I'm talking about. You got one. But like Lucy ended up with a jar that had some like goat bones in it. So it's like pieces. And then whenever they were doing a case, and she didn't have any psych to go with the background, she would shake the goat bones in the jar. Except recently she said she's probably gonna have to stop because she shook them so many times because they've had so many episodes that now they're kind of turning into dust.
Oh my God.
It's funny. I mean, that's just maybe when you said like the sound of bones, I was like, oh my gosh, but they can rattle. I mean, obviously.
I don't know. It's so weird.
Yeah, like was he like hitting them together or? Ugh.
I have no idea. His dad, Lionel, says that he would go around and he called them fiddlesticks, which is a pretty cute name, but still. At 4, he's like, fiddlesticks, woo!
He's like this. He's playing a xylophone made of like a rib cage. Yeah. Gross.
So Lionel says multiple times after this, Jeffrey would like crawl under the house himself and look around the house for other bones.
Oh,
and ended up feeling the bodies of living animals to try and figure out, I guess, like their skeletons and where their bones were located.
they're like, little Jeffrey wants to be a doctor. God.
We'll get to that. Something happens, and his dad's like, "Oh, really cool. Let me teach you a whole bunch of stuff." But
Oh no.
yeah, we'll change your life forever. Dun dun dun.
Oh
I
God.
feel bad for the dad. I mean, hindsight's 2020, but yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. It's so hard. I'm a parent and I'm like, I mean, I don't know. I think that you can hopefully tell a difference between like a dark sense of humor and something that's
Yeah.
really terribly wrong. Hopefully.
In 1968, the family ended up moving again, this time to Bath Township in Summit County, Ohio. By this
Okay.
time, the family had moved a total of 3 times in the last 2 years. They moved around quite a bit. Their
Hmm.
new home was located on land that contained 1.5 acres of woodland and also had a small hut that was a short walk from the house.
Oh, uh-oh. Just a cute, secluded little hut.
Yeah,
Doesn't
where he's
bode
going to
well.
do fun things like collect large insects, such as
Oh,
dragonflies and moths. He
aw.
also, yeah, but he also started collecting the skeletons of small animals, such as chipmunks and squirrels. And some of the
Uh-oh.
remains, yeah, some of the remains were even preserved in jars at this time with formaldehyde, and he started storing them in the hut. Um,
Really?
so this is before he's 10, doing some weird shit in a hut.
Yeah.
But
Where's he getting formaldehyde? The
I
school?
actually don't know,
Wow.
because it said that before this like family dinner I'll talk about right now like takes place. It said that like kind of a turning point at dinner one day in 1970, a 10-year-old Jeffrey asked his dad, Lionel, what would happen if chicken bones were put in bleach. And Lionel believed that Jeffrey was asking because of, he described as scientific curiosity. So he decided to show him how to safely bleach and preserve animal bones. In the thing I read, Lionel was kind of like, yeah, I thought he wanted to like, or was like asking about it because that's the kind of stuff like sciencey was kind of like his dad's work, and he was kind of excited that
Sure.
Jeffrey like wanted to talk about science with him.
Sure,
Obviously,
sure,
not
sure, sure,
thinking he's
sure.
gonna be doing weird shit, even weirder shit in the hut. Uh,
I know. It's like, but did he just like
yeah,
bring it up out of nowhere? I wonder if he talked about that
as
stuff
far
at
as
the
I know.
table. Ugh, seems a little odd.
Yeah. Jeffrey began using this method that his dad showed him to help preserve his bone collection. He also
Hmm.
began collecting more animals and even started picking up roadkill that he saw. He
Yeah.
would dissect and bury the remains beside the hut, and he occasionally made, um, yeah, he would, after burying them, occasionally place like a makeshift cross, which he would put the animal skull on top of as a sort of marker. And one
Okay.
friend of Jeffrey's said that Jeffrey told him that he was curious how animals, quote, fitted together, which is like the worst grammar ever.
Oh my God.
You don't
Like
know
the
how
knee
old
bone's
he
connected
is.
to the joint bone.
How they fitted together. That's painful. Um, During
Yeah.
this
What?
time, uh, Joyce, I guess, is even more like not present. She begins
Hmm.
taking more of the equinol like medication. She's taking it more and more daily, along with taking laxatives and sleeping pills.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, as a result, she's becoming increasingly distant with Lionel and Jeffrey, and like probably at this point, toddler like David.
Right.
Yeah. In 1975, Jeffrey actually decapitated the carcass of a dog. I don't know if this was like a roadkill situation, nothing really said, or if he,
Whoa.
but they did say carcass of a dog, so I feel like he maybe didn't kill the dog, he just cut its head off.
Yeah. Otherwise, that's very
But
different.
yeah,
Like just
uh,
beheaded a living dog. Yeah. But
yeah, but it gets
still.
worse. Uh,
Ugh.
he ended up nailing the body of the dog to a tree, and he impaled its skull on a stick in the woods behind his house. And as a quote prank, he invited a friend over to look at the display and claimed that he found like the body of the dog nailed to a tree and then the head impaled on a stick. That he just like was walking through
Oh,
his backyard and found it like this. Um,
okay.
so he didn't tell his friend he did this, and this was his idea of a prank. Some
He
prank.
knows it's not right. You're not telling
Yeah.
your friend. You're like, no, I wouldn't do something that fucked up.
Oh, I'm just Jeffrey. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
Ooh.
so we have a bit of a I think during high school, Jeffrey was viewed as such a social outcast. By starting at age 14, he had started drinking like hard liquor during the day. Like basically
Oh.
constantly. He was smuggling it to school so that he could drink during class. He was like concealing it in his coat. And one friend during class asked him about it, and he said that he was drinking his medicine.
Oh
14.
no.
Yeah.
That's not great. But his
Well,
mom's self-medicating, so obviously he's learning it from somewhere.
that's true.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so even with all this going on, Jeffrey, I guess, was seen by his teachers and the school staff to be polite. They described him as highly intelligent, but having average grades. So he was still doing fairly good in school for the fact that he was basically drunk all the time.
Wow. Surprising.
Uh, yeah, he enjoyed tennis and actually briefly played in the school band. I didn't run across an instrument. I don't know. Maybe it
I
was the
mean,
xylophone. Maybe he made a
oh
xylophone. I don't
no. Yeah.
know.
Wanted something to make good noises like the bones. Ugh.
Yeah. Um, so during puberty, Jeffrey ended up finding out or figuring out, I guess it should say, that he was gay. During this time,
Oh,
he didn't tell his parents, and he had a pretty brief relationship with another teenage boy. I think he was like a year younger or older than him. Jeffrey
okay.
in like says that they never like had sex or anything like that, and they only went out like very brief, like a couple weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And it was around this time that Jeffrey began having fantasies about dominating and controlling what he described as a completely submissive male partner. And his, yeah. So now, I mean, if you're like starting out with that, like, fucking teenager.
No, yeah, you're supposed to be just discovering the oh god.
Yeah.
You're just supposed to be discovering your sexuality in the form of crushes and things.
Yeah. You shouldn't be like going that hardcore right off
The
the bat.
the wanting to completely like almost own somebody is a little
Yeah.
concerning. Yeah. Yeah.
There's absolutely like nothing wrong with that, but there's consenting ways you can go about that in life, and not the way Jeffrey chooses to do this.
Yeah, he doesn't want them to have any autonomy at all. He doesn't want them to have
Yeah,
any way to consent or ability. Yeah.
yeah.
Oh.
So during this time, his fantasies when he's like masturbating, I guess,
Oh
usually
God.
focus on like a guy's chest and torsos. So I mean, maybe
Oh.
he likes ripped dudes. No. He's got a thing for chest that comes up multiple times.
Rips the head off the Ken doll. It's like when you lose your like Barbie's heads or swap them around. I just want the torso. I don't need the head. Like
Yeah,
what?
he definitely
Okay
likes a
then.
six pack. You guys. Um. So for some reason, I'm not exactly sure how. I think it's because he was like so focused on like people's chests and torsos.
Yeah.
Over time, his like fantasies ended up becoming entwined with like dissection for some reason. So I guess like
Okay.
just torsos.
A fetish
And
is forming.
yeah.
Yeah.
And when Jeffrey was 16, he was at this time fantasizing specifically about a male jogger that I guess would like, I don't know where he saw him, like if it was near his house or what, but he saw this
Yeah.
guy like all the time and he thought he was attractive. And Jeffrey decided that he was going to render him unconscious, like knock him out, and that he was going to have sex with this guy's unconscious body.
Not even gonna try and ask him
So,
for a date.
yeah, like that's the thing. I don't know. Fucking ask people. Be like, lie still. Let me touch your chest. Fuck. I don't know.
Also, there's the whole thing of like people always are like, oh well, it's obviously not their first kill if they go from 0 to 60, but he's like literally going from like 0 to 60. He's
Yeah, he
like,
basically does. Like, he goes hard. But
it's
this
like
isn't even
sex.
the
No, how
first
about
one.
rape? How about rape and how about
Yeah.
unconscious rape?
Yeah. And murder
uh,
and yeah, some weirder shit. I don't know. So Jeffrey says himself that he got a baseball bat and he actually hid in the bushes and waited for this jogger to go past. It says that he waited for hours for this guy.
okay.
However, this guy's really lucky. I don't know if he knows this or ever really figured it out. But that day, this guy didn't jog past. And so Jeffrey wasn't able to attack him. But Jeffrey says that this was the first time that he made like an actual physical attempt to like attack somebody in any way,
Wow.
like planned to and like carried out. And the only thing that stopped him was this guy
Yeah.
not running past. Um,
And so he just got bored and went home.
yeah, but he lied there for hours in the bushes with a baseball.
Yeah.
All because this dude, from what I understood, ran shirtless. He has a thing about like anytime some guy's shirtless, which seems to be a trigger. I don't know. Weird.
I mean,
Um,
that's the highlight of my drive sometimes when it's summer. You see guys running
yeah.
shirtless. I drive up this part where there's a steep hill downtown. Well, sort of north, whatever.
What was that by the river valley?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And then people be running, like guys be running by, and we're like, oh yeah, look at that.
So, this is still in high school, and Jeffrey was
Mhm.
still being seen as a loner. Now he's being described as an oddball, an oddball, an oddball. I don't even know what that means. Uh,
I don't know.
I don't know.
I don't
Uh,
know.
I don't know how at the same time, I don't know. They probably just thought he was weird. Somehow he came, like, convinced people he had a sense of humor. And people
Right.
started thinking him actually of like as a class clown.
He's
Um,
just so weird. They're like, well, I guess he's weird and funny. That's his thing.
yeah, now you're the funny kid, but his idea of like pranks are just, I don't know, they're not great. Maybe it's just like
Mm.
the time we live in now where like this just wouldn't be funny at all for somebody to do. But he staged pranks, which later became known as, quote, doing a Dahmer.
Oh no.
I bet they really regretted that one. They
They definitely
doing a
don't
Dahmer,
brag about
murdering and
doing Dahmers
decapitating.
anymore.
Yeah, I don't think they should have anyway, because basically his pranks included faking epileptic seizures and
Oh,
faking that he had cerebral palsy during school and in like local stores.
oh
So I don't
wow.
understand how those are pranks, but that's a pretty shitty thing to do. I didn't find a list of
Right.
any other examples of his supposed pranks.
And
Yeah.
is that his mother's influence because she was such a hypochondriac that he's got almost like this, not quite
Maybe.
Munchausen syndrome by proxy, but like he's like, is this what normal people do? They think they have these crazy diseases or things they don't
I
seem
didn't
to
think of
have.
that. Yeah, because then he's getting
Mm.
attention for it by his classmates who suddenly went from thinking of him as a loner and probably ignoring him to he's acting out this way
Yeah.
and they're giving him attention.
Or it's just
Hmm.
something you see your parents do that you think, well, if they're doing it, must be somewhat normal, but it
Yeah,
might
because
not
they
be.
did say his mom was like depressed and like wouldn't want to be around them, but then wanted like
Yeah.
pity and stuff about like was always looking for pity and like attention from the husband, being like and stuff.
Right.
That's interesting. I didn't really think of it that way.
Hmm. It's
Yeah,
complicated, the human mind. Holy shit. Trauma
yeah.
runs deep.
In 1977, while still in high school, this is, I guess, when his grades started to decline. His
Oh,
parents ended
okay.
up hiring a private tutor. This didn't really help at all. And around this time, Lionel and Joyce began attending marriage counseling. However, in the end, they did decide on an amicable divorce. And after it was discovered that Joyce had had a brief affair, um, lasting basically only a month in September of 1977. So they're
Oh,
now having a divorce,
okay.
um, or getting a divorce. As a result of this, Lionel moved out in early 1978 and temporarily was living in a motel, I think fairly close.
Hmm.
In May of 1978, Jeffrey graduated from high school, even after it said that a teacher saw him drinking close to the school parking lot, um, and confronted him about it. I guess he's pretty close to like the school grounds. He said that he was
Right.
drinking because of the problems, like the divorce and everything that was going on at home. And he did tell the teacher that the
Huh.
guidance counselor at school was aware of these problems. I guess the
Okay.
teacher like didn't really do much about it because it's not really talked about. So he ends
Hmm.
up graduating. In the spring, Joyce and David moved out of the house to live with relatives in Chippewa Falls, Wisconsin. Jeffrey, who is now 18, is left alone living in the family house.
Oh, they just left the house. They didn't sell it.
Yeah, they just let him live in the house. So like Lionel's
Weird.
moved out. Um, and yeah, Joyce and David just go to live with her family. In
Hmm.
July of 1978, Lionel and Joyce finalized their divorce, and Joyce is awarded custody of David and starts to receive alimony payments. Um, Jeffrey obviously like is doing whatever he wants because he's 18. So he doesn't have like custody of him because he's 18, really. So when I
Right.
talked about like before about like neglect and stuff and his parents not paying attention to him, I feel like that's how they kind of treated him, not that they were doting on him ever. Because
Yeah.
the dad basically moves out and then like months later the mom's like, okay, bye, I'm taking your brother. see ya, like live in the house.
Right. And
Yeah.
not for any discernible reason, like she was going to a job there or there was more family or anything.
She was going to live with like her family, but it's like,
Her
why not?
family.
Yeah.
Huh.
They say like we'll get to it
Yeah.
later, but like Lionel doesn't even find out until like over a month later that Jeffrey's been living by himself.
Yeah,
Like he
that's
didn't even know.
weird because a lot of parents and moms and stuff are like they don't want their babies to go off to college and stuff. And like I don't know, Rain moving out at 18, like that'd be 4 years from now.
Yeah,
Like I just can't picture it. Like, she's a
yeah,
baby.
it'd
She
be
doesn't know what
pretty
she's
crazy.
doing. Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, it does seem crazy from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, just 3 weeks after Jeffrey's high school graduation, uh, it is June. What that typed is Jew, Jue, Jew.
Oh.
Um, it's June 18th, 1978, when Jeffrey picks up 18-year-old hitchhiker Stephen Mark Hicks, which will be unfortunately, his first victim. And Jeffrey lures him back to like Jeffrey's house on the promise of some drinks and like listening to music. And Hicks himself was actually headed to a rock concert. I don't know what band, at the Chippewa Lake Park. So he probably did want to listen to music and like hang out for drinks.
Yeah,
So
pre-game it.
yeah. Yeah. Jeffrey later says that he was attracted to Hicks because he had been standing shirtless on the side of the road and that this had awakened sexual feelings.
Oh God.
Every time you see a shirtless dude.
Right? He loses all
Every
control.
Oh. So after they spoke for several hours with like drinking, listening to music, Hicks was like during this time was talking about girls. So Jeffrey knew that if he made any sort of like sexual advances towards Hicks, they wouldn't be welcomed. And after several hours of talking, drinking, listening to music, Hicks decided he wanted to leave, probably to go to the concert.
Yeah.
And Jeffrey decided he didn't want him to go. So Jeffrey ends up picking up a 10-pound dumbbell. That's like the single ones.
Right.
And he ends up hitting Hicks twice from behind on the head while he sat in a chair. Stephen Hicks fell to the ground unconscious, and Jeffrey then strangled Hicks to death using the bar of the dumbbell. They probably like held the two ends.
Oh.
And
yeah, and keep him down on the floor. Just the weight of it too would be helping you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So he then like stripped all of Hicks' clothes off, and again, weird chest thing going on. He was exploring his chest with his hands, like feeling him up, I guess. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I don't know what his problem.
He'd really like Jamie from Outlander. That actor's got a big old pecs.
Yeah.
Oh my
The
God.
first time I said when you said like fetish, all I could picture was The Rock and him doing like the pec.
Yes.
Yeah.
They've done that, I think, on The Simpsons too, with he's like, yeah, he's a character that's like modeled after like Arnold Schwarzenegger. His name's like Wolfgang. What? Oh no, not the Duff Man. He's like the big movie star. He's like Rainier Wolfcastle. You know, it's a real manly name. And he can move his pecs. And, oh, they like you, my muscles.
Yeah, so he is like feeling up his body. I don't know, and then he ends up like masturbating over the body.
Nice.
It's just bad that I think that's weird that that's the only thing he did. Like at this point, like with all the weirdness he's got going on, like
it's still
obviously
his
there's
first
definitely,
time. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, just
So.
like, yeah, like sexually, that's the only thing he wanted to do, just like touch this dude's chest, and then he was gonna jerk off over him. Like, that's it.
Yeah, it could be that fetish that literally people have where they like it has to be somebody has to look unconscious or dead to like actually
Yeah.
get them excited. It's very specific. It's a very specific fetish. Yeah.
Oh,
But
they've had it
this
in
is
movies
not
and TV shows.
consensual. Sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they had it in was it uh Killing of a Sacred Deer or whatever? The dad had it and like used to give the mom used to like just
Oh.
pretend, I think, that she was a dead body, and it was weird because he was a doctor. And you're like, what the fuck?
Oh. I
Yeah,
haven't seen that.
it was a weird show. So
Right.
weird.
Sounds
Um,
like it.
yeah. So the next day, after killing Hicks, he ends up taking Hicks' body down to the basement where he ends up dismembering him and buries the remains, like dismembered remains, inside of separate plastic bags, which he buries in a shallow grave in the backyard. Several weeks later, he digs the remains back up and uses a knife to, I think it's called like pare the flesh from the bone, basically just like remove it. He dissolved
Ew.
the, yeah, I feel like this is like the weird stuff is, at least the next part is like what his dad taught him, which he probably deeply regrets. He ends up dissolving like Hicks' flesh in acid, and then
Ooh.
it said that he later flushed like this fluid of like melted dissolved flesh and acid down the toilet. So not great for the plumbing
Gross.
system. Yeah.
No, and I'm sure I've literally heard of people trying to do that, and it's like that's not going to be
Um,
effective enough. You can't completely make it
all I could
liquid.
picture was in
Ugh.
Breaking Bad, that bathtub scene where it like falls through the roof, and then he's like, "Why didn't you do it in the plastic bin? The chemicals."
Oops.
He's like, "That's why we needed plastic, not porcelain or fiberglass tub or whatever it was."
Oh,
Um, yeah,
yeah.
it was a chemical reaction to science.
Cause science.
Um, so finally, after like all this happens, I feel like this goes back to the sound thing. I don't know. He ends up like smashing and crushing the bones with a sledgehammer, and he scatters
Yeah.
them in the woods behind the house.
I mean, he's trying to
It's
get rid of all the evidence. He's trying.
Yeah,
I'll give him
I
that.
mean, he does a good job because like nobody knows.
Yeah.
So 6 weeks later is when Lionel returns to the family home with his fiance. So
Oh,
very quick turnaround there. I think like less than a year. And
yeah,
he
that
discovers
escalated
Jeffrey.
quickly.
Yeah. He discovers that Jeffrey at this time is living there alone. So this has been probably between 2 and 3 months. In August, he has Jeffrey, he convinces him to enroll at Ohio State University and is hoping, or Jeffrey's hoping to major in business. However, he ends up only competing one term due to his like continued alcohol abuse, and he receives failing grades in the classes intro to anthropology, classical civilizations, and administrative science. The only course, interestingly enough, that he was good at was riflery, which I looked up, and it
Oh,
basically just teaches you how to shoot a gun.
oh no. His
Don't know why
instincts
he had to
are
take that to major in business, but cool. Um,
that makes no sense.
yeah, I need to shoot a gun so I can major in business.
That's their home ec,
Um,
their version.
Some
Oh my God.
women learn how to sew, men have to learn how to riflery.
God.
So I think he received a B minus in this class, riflery, but he ended up getting a grade point average or a GPA of 0.45. So very low.
0.45. Holy shit.
Yeah, like 4.0 is like perfect. He's at 0.45.
Okay. Thanks for coming out.
Yeah. During another unexpected visit Lionel made to the house, he found out, like looking, I guess, through Jeffrey's room, that it was covered in empty liquor bottles. Not great.
Oh. Yeah, not a good look.
No. Lionel had actually paid in full for Jeffrey's second term at Ohio State in advance, but Jeffrey ended up dropping out of school after 3 months. So I don't even think he really made it into this term.
Okay.
Yeah.
Damn. That sucks. His poor dad. He really tried.
Yeah. He tries even harder. So in January of 1979, Lionel then encourages Jeffrey to enlist in the U.S. Army. And he does. He was trained as a medical specialist at Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas.
Of course, he went into the medical side.
Medical specialist. Yeah, he's like, I can dismember a body while it's dead.
Right up his alley.
Yeah. On July 13th, 1979, Jeffrey was deployed to Baumholder in West Germany. And he served as a combat medic in the 2nd Battalion, 68th Armored Regiment of the 8th Infantry Division. A whole lot of numbers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So he's in West Germany during this time. In published reports from like his time in the army, Jeffrey was described as, quotes, average or slightly above average soldier during his first year. But again, his kind of like alcohol abuse comes back around, and just after a few years, his performance starts to deteriorate, and by March of 1981, he was deemed to be unsuitable for military service and was given an honorable discharge.
Oh, that's vague.
Yeah.
And wonder what it was exactly.
I don't know. Everything just said it was an honorable discharge.
Can't have been too bad then.
No, I think it probably was just alcoholism, really. Was probably quite severe.
They're like, we get a really bad vibe from him.
Yeah, that's crazy ass.
Yeah.
So I'll just as like a side note, German authorities did later investigate possible connections between Dahmer or Jeffrey and murders that did take place in the area during his time in West Germany, but it's not believed that he killed anybody while serving in the armed forces. Not that we know of, anyway. So on March 24th, 1981, Jeffrey was sent to Fort Jackson in South Carolina for his debriefing from the military, and was provided with a plane ticket in which he was told he could travel anywhere in the country. Which is pretty cool. Yeah. He decided he didn't really want to return home and face his father's disappointment. So he also decided he was tired of living in the cold weather. And he decided to fly to Miami Beach, Florida. Because like, what's warmer than Florida in the US? Like crazy. And he also wanted to try
Wisconsin. Yeah.
to go like the heart, like the furthest from Wisconsin. Like
he's at least getting out of the Midwest. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
But it's also said that he wanted to try like living up by his own means and uh supporting himself.
Okay.
And once in Florida, Jeffrey got a job at some place called or when I looked it up, it said that it could be a sandwich shop. It's described as a delicatessen.
Ooh, a deli. Yum.
Yeah, it's like an upscale like deli sandwich shop. Uh,
Sandwich
so
shop.
he was working there. Yeah, he's the best. It'd be bad to have a job there. Sandwiches are my favorite things on earth.
Oh, especially when it's one of
Um,
those like homemade sandwich shops. I had Fife and
there's just
Deckle sandwich today. They're so
oh
good.
good. I've never even heard of it.
Oh, really? Some people in town talk like that's where you get the sandwich, and I was like, oh, I love sandwiches. So like, if ever I hear about a good
Mhm.
sandwich place, I have to try it. Yeah, just
Yeah.
like I mean, I know like Subway, of course they bake their stuff at home, but this is like real bread and then like, all the real
Mhm.
toppings. And so it's just kind of like that. And then they
Different.
have like they're known for like really good pies too. So it's kind of like a nice dinery
Like
kind
a
of
diner.
feel.
Yeah.
Yeah, pies and butter
Nice.
tarts. Yep.
Oh wow. Just scooping his litter around probably to take a shit while we're there.
Oh, was he? Okay.
Um, um, yeah, so he's working at a delicatessen and
Oh,
he's
ham
renting
ham.
a, yeah, fancy. And he's also at this time renting a room at a nearby motel. He does pretty quickly end up getting evicted for non-payment because he was basically spending his paychecks on alcohol. I
Ew.
don't know if it's like during this time or after he's fired or after he's like kicked out. He ends up spending his evenings just on the beach all the time, or honking out all the shirtless dudes. Um, and
Why won't anyone
by
love me that's shirtless?
uh,
I'm just gonna buy
kicking
another bottle of
sand,
vodka. Yeah.
picking up pebbles, chucking them into the water.
Ugh.
Um, so by September, he ends up phoning his dad Lionel and asks if he could return to Ohio. And once he returned, Jeffrey lived with Lionel and his wife, and actually ended up asking that he be given chores to occupy his time while he starts looking for work.
Oh wow.
I mean, he's not a complete slacker at least, which I'm sure they appreciated, but they're also like, dude, you were a serial killer. Uh,
I wonder if he's just like, yeah, trying to occupy his mind and his
himself.
hands. Weird.
So he is still drinking heavily, and just 2 weeks after his return to Ohio, he was arrested for drunken disorderly conduct and was given a fine of $60 and a suspended 10-day jail sentence. So,
Starting to really unravel now.
yeah. Lionel attempts during this time to try and get Jeffrey to wean off of his alcohol consumption.
Okay. Get him off the
Uh,
booze.
yeah. In December of 1981, Lionel and now his wife sent Jeffrey to live with his grandmother in West Alice, Wisconsin. And Jeffrey's
Mm.
grandmother was basically the only member of the family that he ever showed any real affection for or basically liked.
Oh,
And
okay. I
yeah,
knew they
because of
lived
this,
together. Yeah.
yeah, because of this, uh, his dad really hoped that the grandma's influence would kind of help him smarten up, and maybe a change of scene also might help him try and cut back or stop drinking and help him be able to hold down like a consistent job.
Yeah. That'd be
But
good.
yeah, it seems to work at first. Him and his grandmother live together, it's described peacefully. They attended church together. He worked on like chores while he was looking for a job. And it said that he followed most of her rules. So I assumed she had probably given him rules about smoking and drinking, because that's what they point out, that he followed most of his rules, but he continued to smoke and drink.
And I mean, smoke and drink all you want, but if you're causing other people problems, then obviously he's letting it
out of
affect his life. Yeah.
And his work and everything. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's affecting other people at this point.
Yeah. In 1982, Jeffrey got a job as a phlebotomist. Or no. Yeah. Phlebotomist?
A phlebotomist? The blood
so they
people?
They do blood work. Basically, they draw
just
blood.
heard that word on my way home from the Pfeifendeckel and getting the gas. And I was listening to a podcast. And they were like, what? He said it right. And then he was like, whoa, I said it right on the first try. He was like surprised because it's like not something you say every day. And obviously very easy to trip over.
No, it's such a weird word. Yeah.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's not something that's come up even one other time in a year of podcast episodes.
I get this kind of shit all the time, or I'll hear about something and I'm like, that's weird. And then I'll hear it again within a week on a different one. And sometimes the episodes are like, they didn't even come out in the same week. That was a cat.
Me? I'm like, oh, he opened some webpage thing. Oh, he's trying to Google in French how to get help in Microsoft. Cool. Thank you.
How to get help. Help, I need help. He's Googling the outside. He's sending a message. No, I just saw his furry body.
I know.
Past
she won't feed me. Help me, Windows 10. All right. He also scrolled up. I'm like, wait.
Oh no. That's like when I watched
this is the wrong page.
Wine and Crime. Lucy's cat like has the thing about candles and fire. She's always like, look, he's trying to set himself on fire again. And he's like really hairy too. Like he's got that kind of long fur. Like some cat. He's a lot dumber than your cat. His
fake candles. So he just likes to drag them across the table and be like, it makes noise. All right.
And try and knock over your drinks and put his paws in everything.
All right. Cats. So it's 1982. Jeffrey is doing like blood work at the Milwaukee Blood Plasma Center. And he ends up holding this job down for about 10 months before being laid off. I don't know if that was like a group laying off. But
okay.
And it's unfortunate because after this time he ends up being unemployed for over 2 years. It really sucks. And he basically lives off of money that he gets from his grandma.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Although I'm glad he's not out there taking people's blood anymore.
The crazy thing though is like this entire family probably was like, no, his alcoholism, oh, it's terrible, it's ruining your lives. And he's like, but wait, serial killer. Like
it's worse. Yeah. It gets worse.
Secretly worse than you could have imagined.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Intervention won't cure that.
No. It's during this time he starts to like do some weird stuff, even though he's not killing people during this period. So after he's laid off, he gets arrested in August of 1982 for indecent exposure for basically exposing himself at the Wisconsin State Fair Park.
Pulling an Andy pulled his dick out.
Yeah.
Apparently Andy Dick did that in Alberta. I just heard that on a podcast the other day. Just on stage, just pulled out his peen. What is with some people?
I know, like, nobody wants to see his dick.
No, we did not ask for it.
Yeah, so he does this, but he does it like on the south side of the Coliseum, and it said that there was about 25 people, including women and children present. So minors. And he was arrested and convicted. He was given a fine of $50 plus any court costs. That amount wasn't specified. Seems way too low for like minors to have been present.
Yeah, even if that was 19 whatever dollars, but
1980. And jumping ahead a couple years, in January of 1985, Jeffrey was hired as a mixer. This was your favorite thing that you talked about, at the Milwaukee Ambrosia chocolate factory.
It's just so incongruous, but how do you say that word? It just doesn't.
Jeffrey in the chocolate factory.
Yeah. I don't know. I love chocolate. I don't love that.
He literally was just hired to mix chocolate overnight. He worked from 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. 6 days a week.
Okay.
And his only time was Saturday nights off.
I knew some overnight bakers because I worked at a bakery at the grocery store, the superstore before. I mean, that's hard to get up and work and bake in the middle of the night. And if you just hear those two facts, that he's like worked at a chocolate factory and he lived with his grandma, he would almost sound like innocent almost. Yeah.
Right?
It's weird.
And he worked at a delicatessen.
Those are the things I like remember sometimes. I'm like, oh, okay. I didn't really know that much about him other than that.
So soon after getting this job, there was an incident that occurred, and he was not at work, but I don't know, I'm sure this stuff all happened all the time. I mean, you guys don't have the internet, but he's basically like sitting in the Alice public library, and apparently a dude like throws him a note, like just chucks him a note that was like, "Hey, want a blowjob?" Like,
oh, they're old school, throwing notes in class. Isn't that sweet? I mean, it's harder for the gay community in those times to get sometimes their point across if they don't have, I guess, a specific venue for them to go to. But like, yeah, he seems to
like a note at your head being like,
anywhere.
Hey, that's so weird. I don't know, but
care.
My standards, he's not attractive at all.
No.
Weird. But maybe I'm just not attractive to people that were attracted to people with like 80s style anything.
Oh, there's
the big glasses, the hair, the mustache.
Personality is a part of it. It all adds to the whole overall package, and the overall package is not good. Yeah.
Man. Yeah, so
he doesn't usually have the big glasses. I don't usually see him with the glasses, but other than that,
there's a couple pictures, like mug shots of him with huge glasses,
Coke bottle glasses.
Like, whoa, like yeah. So this guy throws him the note being like, "Hey, do you want a blowjob?" Even though Jeffrey, it said that he didn't respond to the note, nothing happened. This incident, he says, triggered his fantasies of control and dominance once. Okay.
Ooh.
So he's living like a monk before this for like how many years? I don't know.
He just seems to have no interpersonal skills. He's like, he doesn't connect the people. They're more like objects to him, I feel like, or like sex toys or props or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So soon after this, Jeffrey begins to frequent Milwaukee's gay bars, the gay bathhouses, as well as like gay bookstores.
Okay.
He ends up stealing a male mannequin from a store that he did use for sexual stimulation before. I feel bad for his grandma. She found it in his closet, and then it said that she made him get rid of it. I would.
Oh my God. If you're gonna hang clothes on it, yes. If you're gonna do weird things to it, no.
At least he's not murdering people.
I had a torso. This is gonna sound bad considering the torso angle. It was like a
One of
recycled
the
dressmaker's torso
yeah,
for
dressmakers. Yeah.
yeah,
You should get one of those and
stuff
just draw
on
like
it.
pecs on it and then like
I could just yeah, then you
just
have
says
something to
cat.
cuddle with. No.
Um,
Something to hang your, I don't know, tuxedo on so it doesn't get
yeah.
dirty. I don't know. But that's not what he's using it for. It's more of a body pillow situation. Oh
So
man.
by late 1985, Jeffrey was regularly going to these bathhouses, which he later described as relaxing places. I would assume so. So by late 1985, Jeffrey was regularly going to these bathhouses, which he described as relaxing places. However,
I mean,
during
sure.
yeah, it said like during his sexual encounters he would have there, he was frustrated that his partners kept moving. And
Okay. Maybe
yeah, we're back
tell them you
onto
like
this.
this. Just tell them what you want. I like a
Maybe get into
starfish. Just lay there.
maybe get into bondage. I don't know. You can tie somebody up and they can't move, but they're fucking not stabbing them to death.
Yeah, how are they supposed to know that?
Yeah.
That's not normal, man. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So starting in June of 1986, he started giving alcohol that he was lacing with sleeping pills to like his partners, and he would wait for them to fall asleep, and then he would perform these sexual acts on them while they were unconscious. My assumption is these are either happening at the bathhouses or he's picking the people up there and they're going somewhere else.
Yeah. He's not averse to bringing them home to grandma's basement. Yeah.
Yeah. I accidentally read a little bit of that and I was like, no. Close that.
There's a lot going on here.
Spoilers. Yeah.
Like we're this, I don't know how much it may end up being a two-parter.
Yeah.
Right. But it's
I don't
been
have
good.
too much more. I only have a few paragraphs.
No, it's not like you want to cut any of that out. Like it's all relevant to his fucking fucked upness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do have a quote. This is from like later on. He said, quote, "I trained myself to view people as objects of pleasure instead of as people." So you kind of alluded to that earlier.
He trained himself to?
I feel like he always did.
Yeah, it didn't seem like it was that hard.
Yeah.
Wow.
It said that Jeffrey got a supply of sleeping pills because he was going around telling doctors that he was working the nights at the chocolate factory and he needed the pills to help him adjust to working these night shifts.
He needs lots of pills, he says.
Yeah.
Apparently.
And after a total of about 12 of these incidents at bathhouses, he's raping like these people. They're not consenting to being drugged and then like assaulted while they're unconscious.
If they even realize, it ever happened. I mean,
depending on what he's doing. Like,
but yeah, and it could be hard to know. You'd be like, well, if we were drinking and stuff, do I just not remember because I drank too much and then I said yes? You would be doubting yourself.
That's very true. Yeah.
It's yucky.
Yeah, so after about 12 of these incidents, at least, his membership to these, I think it's multiple, like, of the bathhouses, it said there was, like, an administration, and they revoked his membership, so he wasn't allowed to go anymore. And he basically just relocates to using a hotel instead.
I mean, yeah, he's just gonna find, like, a less classy establishment.
Yeah. So after his bathhouse membership was revoked, he read in a newspaper about an upcoming funeral for an 18-year-old male or boy. He made a plan to steal this boy's body from the ground and to take it home.
No.
Yeah, it was like weird. He did end up like going to the grave like after the funeral took place, and he did attempt to dig up the coffin from the ground. But he figured out that the ground was like just too hard for him to dig through, so he basically gave up.
Oh my God. Yeah, because he
Yeah.
was like, okay, maybe I'll go this route then. Because I think there's other, I can't remember the name of who I'm thinking of right now, but other killers who didn't kill other victims but played with other ones they dug up.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard of those
So,
before.
yeah.
It seems weird to me that he like already murdered somebody so that he could
Mm.
use their body, and now he's like doing these other stuff. Like normally wouldn't
Yeah.
they
It
like
seems
be
like
doing this
he's,
stuff and then like go into the murders? Like he's doing this for
yes.
9 years. Like
I
yeah, it's kind of
almost
weird.
forgot because it seems like he's
Yeah.
regressed back to like
Yeah, he's regressed.
dabbling in other stuff.
Yeah.
It's weird.
So September 8th, 1986, Jeffrey was arrested on charges of lewd and lascivious behavior.
Ooh, lascivious.
Lascivious, that's like,
I,
I don't
I
even know what
think
that means. I do know
very
it
sexual.
well. He
Lewd,
was
yeah.
charged, yeah. He was
Yeah.
charged for or arrested for behavior, lewd and sexual behavior,
Ooh.
including masturbating in the presence
Oh,
of two 12-year-old boys while he stood close to the Knick-Knick.
oh,
Knick-Knick. There's a whole
oh,
lot of
I
N's and a whole lot
don't
of I's
know.
and CKs.
It's like
Knick-Knick.
Mississippi, but with N's and K's.
Yeah. It looks like it's Knick-Knick. Yeah, it's the same word twice.
Nice.
Kinnic and then Kinnic.
That's
Knick-Knick.
fun to say.
Okay. The Knick-Knick River. He later claimed that he was merely urinating
Oh
and
my
that he had been,
God.
yeah.
While
This is
staring
just
at the
how
two boys.
This is how I urinate.
Oh.
Terrible.
Ugh.
He says he was unaware that the boys were there, but he did later admit to the offense. My last little thing is just that he was charged, his charges were changed later to disorderly conduct, and he was sentenced to 1 year probation and was also required to do counseling. He was sentenced on, I think, March 10th, 1987. He unfortunately was never charged with any of the rapes or assaults that occurred at any of the bathhouses.
Okay, none of those ones. I was gonna say he hasn't yet been charged for assault, but the story's
these
not
12
over.
at least that happened in this 9 year period. He wasn't charged with any of them. Yeah, and
That's
that's
a
the end of
lot.
mine. Yeah.
I didn't know about that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
it seems like a lot of build up. Like,
Yeah.
except it was after, like, there was the first kill.
Yeah, it
and
was
then
like
he was like, I don't know. I want to make myself better. It's really,
yeah, it's so weird. You're right. He did kind of like regress. Like he went from like 0 to 60 and then like, I'm gonna go to 20 now. Like,
but he
it's
didn't
like,
get caught, so he figured maybe he could kind
yeah.
of relax and like work on it and really
Yeah.
figure his shit out.
Yeah.
Fuck. This is
Mhm.
why you can't do these ones in half an hour.
No, we'll see if we can do it in like 3 hours. Jesus.
Well, we've done two-parters before.
Yeah, and maybe
all right.
a two-parter.
They've been aight. That's like a suspenseful place if we leave it here.
True.
Although
That's very true. And it buys us time.
Never.
Like insert mischievous like hands going, it buys us time.
Excellent. Mr. Burns says that while steepling his hands.
Mhm.
But I have a little note to myself because I did need to still tell you something that I heard about someone that I'm 99% sure you covered them, but I definitely recognized their picture when I came across this news piece. The name is like Pedro Filho, and this would have been a guy from our Dexter episode.
Yeah, I was just oh my god, I was thinking about him earlier because I was doing your cash office thing, and in my head I went, and then I was thinking about like Jeffrey Dahmer, and then I was like, oh yeah, what was it that Ed Kemper said that like when they asked him how he deserved to die, and Ed Kemper was like torture or something, he wanted to be tortured to death. And then I was like, ooh, I wonder like if, because I'm like, I don't know, that's kind of cool. Like at least he's not like being like, I didn't do it kind of shit. He's like, no, I'm a bad person, like I deserve it.
Right.
So then I was thinking about like what Jeffrey Dahmer would have been like and all this stuff, and like he would like, and then I was just like thinking about like I am normally a pretty liberal person, but I agree with the death penalty in like very, very specific situations. Like people being like legit serial killers and like shit like that. Like, and then
I can see that. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
If you're able to like prove they're
really like
bad.
Beyond a reasonable doubt, like you caught them mid stab, like
definitely.
Yeah. And then it like rounded about to there really should be more serial killers that kill serial killers. And then I was thinking about Dexter, and then I had forgot that I had covered the guy that was like Dexter, and then I was like, oh shit, they're in prison. And then I was like thinking about him, and I was like, oh yeah, he's awesome. So, and I was literally doing that at like 9 a.m. this morning. So just for you to bring him up, I zone out in the cash office. I'm like counting all her kills, supposed to be paying attention to the money, and I'm like, torture.
It's a repetitive task. Yeah, totally. No, that's what you do. No, I came across something that's so funny though. Scrolling away, and like, he killed other serial killers, right? I remember doing the like Instagram post, and so I definitely remembered his picture, but I was like, I think Kelsey covered him, because I was like, I don't remember like all the details because it was a while ago. But the thing said that he's like out now, even though he killed like 40, what was it, 40 people or 70 people? It was a lot of fucking people.
Yeah, he killed a
lot of killers.
Yeah, he killed like killers, people in gangs, people that were doing,
I read it wrong like, first,
drugs.
And I was like, he killed 40 people, and then it was like 70. It was like a lot, and I was like, holy shit.
Kelsey he killed a lot of people.
Gang members.
But I just remember he killed a security guard that accused his dad of stealing, but then he later killed his dad because his dad was abusive, and he's like, I killed a guy for you, but now I'm gonna kill you, 'cause fuck you.
Oh, it was so weird. This is the problem with the vigilanteism. You can't just make your own laws and degrees of everything gets death. But apparently, I guess he's like out and like already making YouTube videos, which I haven't had time to look again.
Oh my god. Well, because he had a YouTube channel and he was making YouTube videos, and then I couldn't find his YouTube channel, and I thought it was because he was back in prison. They probably took it down. Because he had it before.
Okay. I think that's what I was reading was new, but now I'm starting to just second guess myself. But he had one before going into prison for sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I tried looking it up because people were like talking about the videos and stuff, and then I never even figured out what the YouTube. No article I found even said what his YouTube channel's name was.
I think this one said he was out and commenting on other true crime cases, and I was like, what? I will have to look and see if that's true, and I just have not had a chance.
That might be an old article, because I remember looking at those when I covered him.
Damn, he was like to be like on the
he was talking about like cases.
I think I was on Reddit, if I'm gonna try and place where it was, but okay, I'll dive more into it. I did Google a few things and saw that he had a channel up, but I didn't look at the dates.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. But I thought it said it was out like 2022 or something, because it seemed like it was recent. Damn it.
Okay.
I'll have to research my little facts better next time.
I
'cause
think he
now-
was getting out fairly recently.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I was so busy doing these notes that, yeah. Well, anyway, guys, this is either we're going to take a break and then do the rest because
Yeah.
I have my part to do, but
Yeah.
we'll break it here and see how it goes. And
Yeah, we may split up the episode. We'll decide when we see the total length.
well, nobody
Um,
seemed to have a problem with this week's episode being like 3 hours. It's got downloaded at its
Lot.
normal amount of time
Yeah.
so far, kind of. Yeah, but anyway, you guys let us know.
Disgruntled cat.
Okay, we'll be right back. Or we'll see you in a week.
I'm making fun of him and he looks sad.
Well, you guessed it. We cut the recording in half. It was too long. We wanted to do it justice. And this will be the end for this week. So catch us next week for part 2. Jeffrey Dahmer. The life and crimes. I don't know. But we'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.
This has been Castles and Cryptids. You can listen to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, Anchor, Breaker, Pocket Cast, and our YouTube channel. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Reddit. On our website, you can listen to all of our episodes as well as view pictures for each of our segments. Check out our Patreon page to view all of our tiers and become a Patreon supporter today to unlock monthly bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content. We are working on an Ask Us Anything. You can submit questions by social media or by email at castlesandcryptids@gmail.com. Do you have a spooky ghost story, a creepy cryptid sighting, or a thrilling true crime tale you would like to share and have us include in a future episode? Send us your listener story by social media or by email. Please include the name that you would like mentioned. Our music is by Kobe Fair. Our logo and artwork is by Antonio Garcia. Thanks for listening.